What is up, you guys? Teller checking in for the recap of UFC Vegas 77. The legend, Holm, falls short once again in another main event spot. Gets caught in that standing ninja choke by the very crafty submission artist, Mayra Bueno Silva. A big victory for her. I'll tell you guys what I think should be next for Holm. Maybe some of you guys will agree. Maybe some of you guys will disagree, but I do have some bold thoughts about what I think should be next for Holm as she nears 42 years old. It was a solid card for me. We had two official plays out. We cashed both of them. Happy to announce that. So another profitable night here. And again, going into this card, it wasn't the biggest card on paper, but I did feel that this card delivered from an entertainment standpoint. I thought it was very entertaining. We saw some good scraps. Some nasty finishes. And in the first fight, Ailin Perez got her first ever UFC victory. We saw her shaking her thing inside the cage as she was in her post-fight interview there. Good for her. She gets the victory. We saw the antics in the weigh-in, and we know that's what she's about. She likes to constantly shake her booty out there, and I don't really have a problem with it. I'd rather see her shaking her booty than see Ashley Evans Smith trying to shake her booty, but I don't think we'll have to worry about that. I don't know if we ever see Ashley Evans Smith step back into the cage. She was coming into this fight off a 3-year layoff. She looked just as bad as she ever did in the past. She was dominated in this fight. Basically, if you want to break down the numbers, I mean, she was outstruck 60-12. She was taken down 10 times. She tried to check Ailin Perez's oil inside the cage. It wasn't a good fight for her. And Ailin Perez gets the unanimous decision there. And, we'll see what's next for her. She needs to prove more inside the cage before I'm actually taking her too serious, but we'll see. She's still young. She's tough. Alex Munoz defeats Carl Deaton III. This was one of two 5-unit plays that I had out for this card, so obviously I was very happy to see it cash. Munoz got the unanimous decision. Munoz, he did outstrike Deaton 44-37. I thought this fight played out decently close. I wasn't overly impressed with Munoz's performance, but at the end of the day, I mean, he still got the job done. Unanimous decision. You could argue that he took every round. He landed the more impactful shots throughout this fight. He actually secured 3 takedowns as well. But I thought that he looked a little off, and you could see that maybe that long layoff that he had just had him a little off in the cage. I felt like his distance was a little off. He wasn't that comfortable striking, but at the end of the day, Carl Deaton III is just not a UFC caliber fighter, and that's why I looked to fade him in this spot. And I know that Munoz surrounds himself with good people, and even on a bad night, he still wins it convincingly, or somewhat convincingly there. So we cash right there. In the next fight, we had the UFC newcomer, Azat Maxim. You guys got to let me know, did you have him winning this fight? It was a split decision victory for him there. I thought that you could argue he won those first 2 rounds. So Tyson Nam finished the fight strongly. Check this out. It's pretty interesting, right? Tyson Nam, he outstruck Azat 81-46. Of course, Maxim had those 2 takedowns, but nonetheless, Tyson Nam did land, and especially in the 3rd round, he had some success there. And, curious what you guys thought about the newcomer. I was not that impressed with Maxim. I thought that line was a little bit too high, like we talked about. And I thought the performance showed that he maybe was a little overvalued there. Now, we cash our second and final play. Again, a clean sweep. We did take Evan Elder straight up. I was looking to parlay him, but I really didn't like the other pieces that I was looking into. There was a couple pieces I was closely looking into, and I just decided to stay away and just attack Evan Elder straight up. I got him at -300. I threw 5 units at it. I still profit just under 2 units, which combined with the Alex Munoz hit, we bring in about 5 units of profit for this card. I'm not going to argue with that. I know some of you guys are going to say the -300 line was a little too high. I felt very confident that Evan Elder was going to go out here and get the job done. General Valdez actually showed some toughness in there. I know he's a tough fighter. He carries some power. He landed that 1 big shot. Other than that, though, I thought that Evan Elder he was much ahead as far as the striking goes. He was much quicker. He was much more diverse, landing solid leg kicks, landing a lot of power shots. But General Valdez was extremely tough, and he ate them well. So at the end of the day, Evan Elder dominates that fight, gets the unanimous decision there. Mel Costa defeats Austin Lingo. How about Victoria Dudakova pushing the pace, going to the grappling and dislocating Estela Nunez's elbow? That was nasty. And Estela Nunez, I don't know. That was a do or die type of fight for her. So we'll see what's next for her. I mean, obviously she has to heal up. Does the UFC even give her another opportunity? That had to be tough for her there. Melsik Bagdasarian defeats Tucker Lutz. Did struggle a little bit early on in this fight, right? He was controlled. He was taken down. I liked the way that he rebounded, especially late on in this fight. He was landing some heavy strikes, and you saw the takedown defense starting to pick up. I think that Melsik is a promising fighter. Right now, Melsik Bagdasarian is, he's 31 years old. He's entering the prime physical shape of his career, but understand that this is a fighter that's still learning the game of MMA like we talked about. So he still has a very high ceiling, in my opinion. We'll be talking about Melsik when he's about 33, 34. We'll be talking about the best version of Melsik. I think he'll be putting on some good performances, and I think we'll see him land some heavy kicks throughout his career, of course, but maybe even a nasty head kick KO in the near future, because he is lightning quick with his strikes. And Tucker Lutz, a tough dude. I don't know why he was acting like he possibly won this fight. He acted like he was disappointed. I thought he clearly lost 2 rounds there. How about Nazim Sadykhov hitting that rear naked choke on Terrence McKinney? Terrence McKinney's arm was all wrapped behind him. It got caught up in there. It almost looked like it was dislocated. Similarly to Stella Nunez, the way that he was finished and just was so slow to pull it back, but just dominated. Essentially, I know that Terrence McKinney did have that early takedown, but Nazim Sadykhov looked great in the second round there and started to stuff those takedowns. And, Terrence McKinney is a stud fighter. We talked about the bad fighter IQ. We talked about the constant mishaps. That's what we saw happening here. We thought that Nazim Sadykhov was just going to be a little bit too much of a threat to trust Terrence McKinney in a spot like that, and that's what happened. No action there. I still needed to see more from Nazim before I was going to back him there. The line, the line on Nazim, obviously him being a slight favorite there too. I wasn't willing to touch that. Norma Dumont defeats Chelsea Chandler. This is one of the very few fights that I picked wrong throughout the card. We did very successful overall with the picks here. Chelsea Chandler, she showed her toughness, but Norma Dumont, the more polished fighter. How about Chelsea Chandler pulling the Forrest Gump in the middle of the cage, turning her back and running away? I thought that Chandler still showed to be a tough fighter, a competent jiu-jitsu player down on the mat, and I think that she'll bounce back with some solid wins in the future. She's a tough chick. Norma Dumont's good, and I'll speak for myself here. I got to stop overlooking her at times, because I have, not that I faded her with bets, but still not picking her all the time. She's a solid fighter. Jun Young Park gets the rear naked choke victory over Albert Duryov. Albert Duryov looked good early on, laying some heavy shots, but Park pumping that jab. He was very calm in there. He waited for the right opportunities, and eventually, he was just a much fresher fighter when it was in the middle of that second round. We saw Albert Duryov breathing heavily when those takedowns didn't start to work for him late on. We saw him break, and we kind of know that he's kind of a little bit of a front runner. He likes to be the hammer. He doesn't like to be the nail. We saw that. Park doesn't mind being the nail for a little bit. He'll come back and then he'll be the hammer. He's a solid fighter, and he's been winning a lot of fights there in the middweight division. You keep an eye on him now. Francisco Prado, how about that the finish that he had over Otman Azatar? What a crazy fight that was. Prado's an animal. Now listen, this was a tailor-made matchup for him, right? The youngster here, he's a striker. Otman Azatar is a striker as well. He's a kickboxer. He favors that type of fight. I still would be very cautious following or targeting Prado in the future. He has a lot of room for growth. He's still so young, but we saw what Jamie Malarkey did to him, and don't get it twisted in this next fight. If he's matched up against a wrestler or a solid grappler, you be careful there. All right, now this fight, I definitely have some bold thoughts on this fight. You guys let me know. Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Jack Della Maddalena against Basil Hafez. Now, I do apologize. I did not get my prediction out to you guys, but I promise you guys, I felt that Hafez looked actually decent with the tape that I was pulling up on him, and I thought that this line was way off. Basil Hafez, the tape you could pull up on him was actually from a while ago as well. Some of the tape I pulled up on him, and you saw that he was a solid grappler. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's very physically strong. He could wrestle. And then you take into consideration that Jack Della Maddalena has never really been tested against a solid grappler. He faced Ramazan Ameev, but other than that, we haven't really seen him tested there. And, he settled in right around a -650 favorite. Remember how I talked to you guys about how I was looking for a potential parlay piece? I definitely knew to stay away from this. I eyed it, but when I broke down the tape on Hafez, wanted nothing to do with that. There was a great prop out there. You could have took Jack Della Maddalena to win this fight via decision for plus 750. That was a nice prop bet there. Jack Della Maddalena won this fight. He won rounds 2 and 3. Dominated round 3. And round 2, he landed much more significant shots. Everything he was throwing at Hafez was just nasty. And then Hafez snuck that little takedown with the last 2 minutes or so, the last minute and 50 seconds or whatever it was. He controlled Della Maddalena, but he didn't do anything with it. Didn't try to put any type of attacks on him down on the mat. And I don't see how any of you guys gave Hafez that second round with the damage that JDM was landing there early on in that round, or for at least half of that round. So JDM, in my opinion, I saw a lot of fighters hating on him. I think they have it completely twisted. I think he showcased once again that he is striking in the matrix. He is a nasty striker. He'll continue to refine his takedown defense and his grappling. He's going to be a major problem in the division. He's going to be a major problem in the welterweight division. And Basil Hafez, he's a legit fighter. He's a legit UFC fighter. Jack Della Maddalena outstruck him 83-32. I know that that doesn't necessarily sum up a fight. Hafez did win that first round, I would say. That was even somewhat close. He won that first round. JDM won rounds 2 and 3. Tell me I'm wrong there. I don't know. I saw a lot of fighters hating. And I think that's also partly due to the fact when you have a major underdog and he shows up and he actually somewhat performs and keeps the fight close, people start to think then that he's doing a little bit better than he even is, because they get excited, right? They're expecting him to be dominated. And, that wasn't the case. He was hanging in there. All right. So now we get to the main event here. Holly Holm, the 41-year-old who is a decade older than her opponent, Mayra Bueno Silva, or was her opponent. And, Mayra Bueno Silva, very patient in there. I said I had some bold thoughts on what I think should be next for Holly Holm. This is what I think. I think that Holly Holm should retire from the sport of MMA. I think that if she doesn't, I think that she's going to really run into some trouble moving forward. I think there's a reason why Holly Holm constantly over the last couple of years is just looking to push her opponent up against the cage and just throw knees and just kind of clinch up. I think that she understands that she's not moving the same way that she once moved, and I feel that she knows that she's susceptible to be hitting with some big shots. She's moving a lot slower. She still looked to be in good shape for a 41-year-old, but if you saw her enter in the cage, if you saw her at the weigh-ins, she looked a little bit more flabby than usual. If you looked at under her arms and whatnot, she's starting to look like an older woman, man. Obviously, still in phenomenal shape. You see the abs and all that, but you know what I'm saying. Age catches up to everybody. I think Holly Holm should probably hang it up. I mean, and unless she still loves it and she wants to go out in her shield, and props to her. If she wants to do that, nobody should tell her that she shouldn't continue to fight. If that's what she wants to do, it's not like she really has been devastatingly finished as of recently. She ate some big shots from Ketlin Vieira, but she got caught with a choke here. I don't know why she stuck her head in there like that. But Mayra Bueno Silva, let's talk about her real quick before we wrap this video up. She is a fighter now that is pulling all types of subs off in the cage. Just hit up a standing ninja choke, a knee bar, an arm bar, pulled off an arm bar. Never mind. She did. She did pull off an arm bar a while back before that as well. I mean, she's a nasty fighter. She's pulled that ninja choke off before as well. She pulled that off on Dana White's Contender Series when she made her debut there against Mayana Souza. I mean, she is a nasty fighter. You heard what she had to say after the fight, saying how she was really down in the dumps and all that. I don't know why she's feeling that way. I'm not going to get into that, but hopefully this helped her feel great, and hopefully she's getting her mind right, and she needs to start paying attention to what's ahead of her, because she's going to have some huge fights coming up in the near future. You saw her going back and forth already with Juliana Pena. That's a fight maybe we see down the line or moving forward, and I think that'd be a good fight. Just a new stylistic matchup in the division, and I would be very interested to see how that plays out. And I think at this moment, I'm thinking that a girl like Mayra Bueno Silva pulls off a choke on Juliana Pena, who likes to stick her neck all up in there. She always is pushing the pressure with her grappling. All right, so Mayra Bueno Silva currently ranked on Tapology as the number 3 ranked bantamweight fighter right now. So big things coming for her, a huge victory. And again, we had another profitable event here, so I'm happy about that. Shout out to everybody that rode with me, and it was a much needed clean sweep, right? So we have things rolling now. We're going to start really attacking these cards moving forward. We have another solid card coming up this upcoming weekend. We have the big UFC 291 fight card coming up. I'm going to have some huge plays out for that. We're going to start cleaning up, and we get the train on the track. So if you guys are looking to ride with me, make sure you hit me up. All right, guys. Catch me on all my social media. It's all scrolling below. I'm on IG, Twitter, all that. Please like this video, subscribe. You guys all have a great night. Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.